Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste, namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. It's funny that to know itself is a very strange concept. Oh, there's an answer. So one day we were just sitting with Guruji, and the creative team came. Some of you know this. The creative team came with two options for his visiting card. So in Rishikesh, if you would meet someone and you're just walking, then to stay in touch or to get in, to find out about satsang, then Guruji has these nice visiting cards that he would give to some of them. So the creative team came with two options. First was in the front was the contact details. Behind there was a quote. Then the two options. First option said, the truth cannot be known. The truth cannot be known. The second option said, till you know yourself, you will not come to the end of suffering. And for a while, we were just looking at the options and the fonts and what looks nice, Then it occurred to me that if by chance the same one gets both the cards, one which says the truth cannot be known, and the second says, till you know yourself, you will not come to the end of suffering, then this one is in big trouble. And I said to Guruji that, this could be very confusing for someone. So he said, we should put worldly. The truth cannot be known in the worldly way. So what is this worldly? Now, there are a lot of things that we think we know. There could be things that we think we perceptually know through our senses. But the other day we were seeing this video about the McGurk effect, where even though the sound which is coming from the computer is ba, 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 you think you're hearing fa, fa, fa. And even when you know it, it doesn't change it. So you cannot rely on that, what you hear. Similarly, many things like mirages, you see optical illusions, the famous examples from Shankara of snake and rope, man and pillar, mother of pearl and silver. All these examples are there, which tell you that what you see also you cannot trust. So this perceptual knowing can also be completely false. The mental knowing, of course, conceptual knowing, all of us know. We've known many things in the past, which now we see that we were wrong about. And yet we hold on to many things that we think we know now. You want to look at both of these together and drop it, or one by one? Okay, let's go a little slow. This visual stimulus is very, very compelling in a way. But on top of this visual stimulus, we put a lot of concepts. A lot of concepts. Because even our perception, we don't leave them alone. We molest them with our ideas of them. What is the first thing, not the first, but most common things that we superimpose on this? Let's say time and space. Something is being perceived. What tells you that there is distance, that there is space? It's just conceptual. And I'm including this body also. But just to illustrate the point, I could have a film on my eyes, and everything could be on that film. So there is no distance, it's just moving images. But the idea that there is distance is just a notion, that there is a distance between this and that. All of this, also idea of duration or time, where does it come from? Because we have certain visuals, then we have certain other visuals, and we make a link between them. And say that happened before, this is happening now. So even our perceptions, we mix them up with concepts about what they are. Then what are the other common ideas of knowing that we put on this even appearance? Put this idea of causation, cause and effect. This causes this. A set of perceptions seem to appear and disappear. What makes the linkage between them? Oh, I thought this, that's why I did this. This happened and that's why that happened. And so many of our grievances and pride and all of this is because of this. But one of the most fundamental things, concepts that we put on this, on these perceptions, are the concepts of me and other. It's just conceptual. You're looking at some perceptions and calling it me, and you're looking at some others and calling it other. Nothing naturally forces this distinction. And then what happens is that much is also not enough for us. Then what happens is that there are some other perceptions that come, you see, and those we call mine. So not only is there a me and other, there's also a me and mine. You see, not only is there a separate self, me, it also owns some other things, which it calls mine. And it forms a special relationship with this mind. And this is called attachment. Now, this is exactly like, to be attached is exactly like tying yourself to a crazy donkey and then expecting stability in your life. That's the nature of attachment. Tying yourself to a drunk donkey and saying, oh, this should be, my life should be stable now. Why am I saying this? Because everything in this perceptual realm is changing. Everything in this realm of appearances is constantly changing. So that which you call mind now will not be the same 1 minute later. Everything is constantly changing. And the worst part is that even if that thing is not changing, then your mind ideas itself about them change. This is what I really liked about you. You see, we are so different. That's why we're perfect couple, because we are so complementary. See, opposites. Afterwards, after a bit, why can't you change yourself a little bit? If you're a little bit more like me, we would get along better. So then with this mind idea, there's also so much trouble. And it happens to all of us. When I first moved into this house, it was the first time we had like a small garden outside. So then, because first time in my life there was a garden, I planted some seeds. It's just to see how it turns out. So then what started happening, and I noticed is I would wake up first thing in the morning, I would go to the garden, I would not see anything else. It's like the rest of the garden had vanished. But first was my seeds. What happened to my seeds? This is the thing with mind. This is the nature of attachment. The rest of the plants are no longer plants. It was just my seeds which are my seeds. Important. This is the thing with me and my attachment. So we take some things which are just appearances, constantly changing, and we say mind. And there are also ideas about some things which should not come. This should never be mine. This should never be my experience. We decide mentally that this should not come. So the opposite of desire, which is aversion, which is also a desire itself. Saying, I desire that this should never come in the content of my attention and the content of my perception. All fake, because anything can come. Nothing has been able to, nobody has ever been able to control the content of their experience, as hard as they might have tried. Nobody has been able to make the me eternal, the mind eternal, and nobody has been able to say, I have decided that this is never going to be experienced here, and I can bet my life on it. Nothing like that is possible. Everything can come in this life. It is completely unpredictable. So this realm of perception also, as unreliable as it might be, we have made a lot of ideas about it. We think that we know a lot about this world, but actually we don't know anything at all. And this is the best news, because it has been this kind of knowing which is the invitation to suffering. So when Guruji is saying the truth cannot be known, the invitation is to drop this sort of conceptual knowing I was saying the other day that it is these labels which cause so much trouble. I mean, where's the table? There are 4 sticks and a slab on top. Where's the table? It's just an idea. In the same way, where am I? How can I look for a me? I see his fingers, hands, leg, flesh. Someone was saying the other day, flesh and blood. Flesh and blood. That's all that this body is. How do I make a me out of it? And this is completely recursive, isn't it? Because even what we call sticks, even what we call slab, where is it actually? These are all just labels. Is it possible for life to continue unlabeled? That is the life of a sage. There's no aversion to labels then, but the labels are not held on to. The arrogance of the idea that I know what something is, and most importantly, the arrogance of the idea that I know who I am. I am this me. And this me has now understood that it is God. This kind of nonsense. Rather, it is also true that I cannot know that I know nothing except that I know I exist. I cannot know even that. Right? Cannot know even that I know nothing. You see? So when somebody says, I just know that I know nothing, a sage will often respond and say, do you? Socrates was called the wisest man who ever lived because he said, I know that I know nothing. All I know is that I know nothing. But a sage would speak to him also and say, do you? Now, fundamentally, even this, there's a, so I'm going to come to that, which is the capital K knowing. But even this, I know I exist. Many times it can feel like I know I exist, but we don't know. We don't know from here. There's another deeper knowing, which is unchanging knowingness also. Unchanging knowingness itself, which is aware of existence. But for it, there is no use of the label existence. There is no use of the labels of consciousness, beingness, any of that. So why it is important to make that point is because many times it is the pointer, right, which is confused to be the reality. So we can safely even drop this, that I know I exist, because that knowingness doesn't need the concept I know I exist. I know you're saying the same thing. Many years ago, I was sitting in an airport, Chennai airport, and I had a flight to come back to Bangalore. This was maybe 12, 13 years ago. And I was sitting in this airport, and usually I like to read a lot. So this time, strangely, I didn't have a book. So I went to the airport bookshop and saw this small book. It is called Freedom from the Known. And I said, this is nice because I read pretty fast, so I thought I'd finish it on the flight. Freedom from the Known is by Krishnamurti. So I bought this book and I said, this will be a light read, easy to finish in the aeroplane. And then I'll be done with it. I got this book, I opened it, and, and it was an expensive one, okay? It was not, it was a thin one, and still it was a lot of money, even those days, 600 rupees or something like that, which is a lot of money even in today's time, but then especially. I opened this book, I started reading it in the before security itself, I just was reading. What is this stuff? The title should have told me already. Freedom from the known. I should have, if I contemplated that for a minute, I would have maybe not bought that book. The point is that this freedom from the known is a very important aspect of Satsang, if not the main aspect itself. And I was saying the other day that it's important, it seems easier to drop everything that you have been wrong about. Oh, I'm so wrong with this, and please, I surrender all of this to you, and please, make sure that I don't make these mistakes again. I've just been so wrong with all of this. But hardly anyone comes to Satsang and says, Father, I feel like I'm so right about this. Can I surrender this to you? And we hold on to this righteousness as if we know something. But we actually don't. Yesterday, unfortunately, we couldn't have the broadcast because there was no electricity here. It was hailing. Some of you saw the hail. So we didn't have the broadcast. But yesterday I came into Satsang and I disagreed with everything that anyone said. Even to the extent of contradicting myself from a minute ago. That didn't matter. The point is that anything that we can hold on to can be shaken up. Even the highest spiritual concept. I was saying, forget about awareness. It's a made-up thing. It's just a concept. Forget about it. And there was something. But I've seen this. It's my own insight. You can say like that. But what is being held on to and the fear of dropping it has nothing to do with your true insight. It is the crutches that you have now. Olga was saying, it's really helping, Father. It is really helping to drop. I'm just when these sticky thoughts come, I take the position of dropping them, and I feel like there's so much spaciousness. So what are you saying now? I'm saying that forget about even this. What? But this is what I've learned in satsang all this time, and I feel like finally I'm getting somewhere out of the stickiness into some spaciousness. And now you're saying, forget about it. And I was saying that at the root of all of this also, what we might end up reinforcing is the notion of the separate self, who is now getting somewhere, who is now doing something which helps him, her. So the mind is actually nothing but an invitation to know something, an invitation to be right about something. And nothing needs to be done about it. Because if time and space itself are just concepts, and they don't apply to you, all of this me and mine, cause and effect, there are many more, true and false. You know, one of our favorite ones, especially because we come to satsang, I'm for truth. I'll fight for the truth to the very end. And then, how do you have Advaita arguments? I'm coming from truth. You are coming from false. I'm not seeing any duality. You are. I don't even hear these words when the argument is happening. I don't see duality. You are. Not one thing we know which is true. We don't actually know in the first place what existence is. We feel like there is the existence of all of this. But what is this? So this unlabeled life is also what is called the notionless existence. In the notionless existence, all notions of what you thought you knew or what you think you know are meaningless. But it is not just that. Because if it was just that, then it would be like a nihilistic meaninglessness, a pointless meaninglessness. But the best part about the notionless existence is that in this, the truth, which is the unchanging reality, is completely apparent. This is where the second visiting card, which is till you know yourself, you will not come to the end of suffering, becomes completely apparent. Because without a notion of myself, what I truly am, this knowingness with a capital K, this awareness, this absolute, is completely known, but not known in the worldly definition of knowing. So this is the invitation or provocation. Meet yourself naked of concepts. Meet yourself notionlessly. And you don't have to proclaim anything, but I can proclaim on your behalf that this will be the meeting of the most enlightened being that you will ever meet. And I can go as far as to say that all the other enlightened beings that you have met in form in the world have only been pointing to this one, which is your own presence, your own being, which is ever present. Meet yourself now, unmolested by anything that you know. Face yourself as you are. Yesterday was Buddha Purnima. Yes. It was the Buddha who said, freedom is the end of all grasping. You see? The end of all grasping. Means grasping at things and grasping at concepts. Forget about all these concepts, past and future, time and space, here and there, me and other, this and that. All of these concepts are like trying to grab space. And you have a library of these bottles full of empty space. Which is the label is there. All our conceptual frameworks is that it's the library full of these bottles, empty space, but only the labels. Me, other, just ideas, past, future. Father, I feel I am drowning in not knowing and not grasping. Feel disconnected in my heart. You know this? I have run out of moves. But maybe also this is a move that I am disconnected from my heart. Forget it. If you forget it, then what is to connect or disconnect? What is not your heart? Show me that which is not your heart. What is outside your heart? If there is something outside your heart, then that is not a heart worth knowing. And if you're talking about the true heart, you cannot disconnect. Everything is part of it. I don't even want to say it is too simple, because even that can become an invitation to know, oh, okay, it's too simple. It's actually too simple. See there? I see the mind trick. Thank you, Guruji. So welcome. Anything which invites you to take a position about anything at all is just a trick of the mind. You are all there is, all there is. But the mind will always make some distinction, and you say and says you are this or you are that. Also remember that one label which is very fearful is the label fear itself. Because I know it's a common report after we let go of this grasping and knowing. We can say, oh, fear is coming. If we don't even know that, what is fear? Why don't we use a lighter label like some, some popcorn is popping inside? Because fear is coming. For many, actually, this type of satsang will be very disappointing, because it can feel like in any satsang, and I was finally coming to the point where I was getting this, I was coming to know this. I was seeing that I'm this. And now you're being told to get rid of even your most sacred concept. So even these perceptions that we call emotions, don't be so convinced that you know what they are. Guruji has this very beautiful way of explaining this. He says, if you feel like you have stage fright or something, and you're supposed to take a public talk, then that sensation or that emotion that you're experiencing, quickly you will say fright or anxiety. But energetically, if the same thing is happening before you're looking forward to a holiday, you will be quick to label that excitement. Actually, energetically, they could be the same. And yet, it is again this idea that I know what it is. I know what it is. You don't know. And by the way, in the not knowing it, for some of you, it might sound like I'm saying, oh, then I have to be in denial of it. I'm not saying that at all. Full acceptance can only come when we leave it unmolested with concepts. It is our label itself which is the resistance. And our denial is like, so I'm not saying if something is being experienced, then we say, no, this should not be there. No, I'm not experiencing anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying allow that experience to continue when you're not knowing, in your unconceptualizing. Is it? Because otherwise you don't meet it naked, you don't meet it fully. You meet it as a photocopy. Everything in the world we've been meeting as photocopy. We're meeting the mental impression of it rather than it. We've been meeting what is through the filter of the mind. You don't meet the sensation as it is. You meet the label grief. We don't meet the sensation as it is. We meet the label joy. You don't meet another apparent person as they are. You meet the labels that the mind is telling us. This one is like this and this one is like that. So your notionless existence is not the denial, but it is a full acceptance of everything as it is. Fully open. Fully open. No defenses. No attack. Akash asks, are all appearances the mind? So there are two ways to look at this question. One is whether you're asking that even the mind is an appearance. Yes. The mind is also an appearance. It just comes and goes. The other way that you could be asking this question is whether you're asking whether all of this is just the mind. Well, that depends on which definition of mind you're using. Actually, there is no such thing as mind. Maybe I take a minute on this. We have these favorite concepts called, and we use them also in Satsang. We have these favorite concepts called world, body, mind. And now suppose that these distinctions were dropped. Suppose that these distinctions were just dropped. Because what have these distinctions been? They have only been a set of perceptions, which we call thoughts. And we've clubbed like similar energies like these thoughts. We've said, okay, let's also include this imagery, which I call imagination. Also, let's include memory, images that come seemingly from the past. And we said, okay, let's club these perceptions, these quality of perceptions, and give it a label mind. In the same way, we have taken these body sensations, pain and pleasure, the sensations which are appearing. We've made a different set of them. We've said hand sensation, feet sensation, head sensation, pain sensation, pleasure sensation, heart sensation, all these sensations. And we looked at all these perceptions. And we said, okay, it'll be convenient to call all of this body. And just to distinguish between these sensations and everything else that is perceived. It doesn't have the same qualitative taste as these. We said, okay, let's call that outside, or let's call it the world, or something like this. But all of these distinctions are actually mental. So this fits in very well with what we are talking about today. That if you don't know anything, including body, mind, being, consciousness, awareness, nothing, has the truth left you? It hasn't. Only that truth which has the opposite, true and false, that truth comes and goes. But this truth which is being pointed at, which is apparent in your motionless existence, does not have an opposite. This one cannot be falsified. It never is not. It only is. The isness itself. The isness is completely apparent when the falseness is let go of. You cannot know isness. Not the small keynote. But when all that you know is dropped, you know isness. But this knowing is the knowing of isness itself. mind is too blunt an instrument to understand today's satsang, or actually any satsang. It's like you can't do a root canal with a hammer. Don't try to put this, what you're hearing, into some conceptual framework. Thank you all so much for being in satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevala. Love you, love you, love you all.